Okay, hi guys, how you doing? Today is Saturday and I'm just about to go off to do a workshop over in Gloucester, which is where I do gymnastic strength training. And this workshop is going to be led by one of the trainers of Wim Hof. They're teaching the Wim Hof breathing method. I don't know if you've heard about him, but he's the Iceman who can sit in ice caves and ice bars for minutes at a time, hours at a time, and he can even control his autoimmune system, which is not meant to be controllable consciously, right? So he's basically mastered his body by using his mind, and it's all to do with this breathing method. So come on, I'm gonna jump in the car now and I'll tell you more about it on the way. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm off to go and do this workshop about the Iceman, Wim Hof. He's not actually leading the workshop, but it's some of his trainers that have come up from London. And this is relevant to social anxiety, I feel, because breathing is such a big part of overcoming social anxiety. And what Wim's done is he's been able to completely control his autoimmune system and, his mind and a lot of parts of his body by using this intensive breathing technique. So I'm really interested to learn more about that. I also feel it's related because once I got into trying to deal with social anxiety and get my social anxiety overcome and taken care of, handled, eliminated, I looked into cold showers. And cold showers can be really good for you on a number of levels. They light up your nervous system. They help the body to create a lot of positive endorphins and neurotransmitters and stuff like that. And another really important thing I think about them is that it toughens you up. And a lot of the journey of social anxiety for me, overcoming it, was actually just going from being a weak person. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just had to become stronger, like I used to like lying in bed, my warm comfy bed, and lying in late and being lazy and all this. And because so much of overcoming social anxiety is about handling fears, and that is difficult, it takes willpower. And jumping in a cold bath or jumping in a cold shower, that takes willpower. And I just feel that it kind of toughens you up and helps you create willpower. So for those reasons, I think it's really important. And I actually came across Wim Hof through Tim Ferriss, and I came across Tim Ferriss as part of this process of getting my life together, overcoming social anxiety. And then I got into a lot of aspects of personal development, because I don't believe you can really overcome social anxiety without increasing your overall level of personal development. And there's no telling where that might lead you. To me, it led to, my own apartment, my own car, my own business, and all of those things helped eliminate social anxiety because I just became a different person. So I do feel that the personal development journey and the overcoming social anxiety journey are inextricably linked. And of course, overcoming social anxiety is a personal development journey in itself. I feel you're very likely, I feel that you're going to find, I think you're going to find that you're going to change in a lot of ways you never even imagined if you really commit to overcoming social anxiety. It's a journey that can't help but change you in so many other ways. You start off pulling on one thread, and then all these other threads come out, and you end up coming out the other side a totally different person. Look how I'm dressed today. I mean, I never even used to work out before. I used to smoke, drink, take cocaine on the weekends. I used to be an inveterate pot smoker, up until my early 20s. I just wasn't this person. I wasn't interested in, financial freedom or helping people or having a direction in life or purpose or loving life. I wasn't that guy. I became this guy through wanting to overcome social anxiety and then, getting my life together, and overcoming social anxiety became part of that. And it was basically a journey of total personal transformation. And as cheesy as that might sound, you know, I'm not trying to sell you a self-help seminar. It's just the straight up truth. That's what my journey was, and that's what happened to me. So this whole Wim Hof thing, yeah, you know, I want to be able to jump in an ice bath and be able to handle that, because it reduces inflammation, it has loads of good effects on the body. And it's just funny that coming here today on this Saturday, this is all part of this like positive personal development journey lifestyle that I got into, and people like Wim Hof are part of that. You know, cold showers, cold exposure, breathing therapies, it's all very related. You know, it's related to meditation and how breathing slows down calms the nervous system. Like when you take a big out breath, that triggers, I think it's the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one which calms the anxious, you know, your fight or flight. You have the sympathetic nervous system. I think I'm right on this, don't quote me, I might need to check this off the top of my head, but the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight system, which pumps out a load of cortisol and all the rest of it, and then your parasympathetic nervous system is the one that calms that down. And just by taking a long, you can try it now, take a long out breath, and it immediately calms the body and the mind. And I believe that's really why we sigh as well. It's kind of as a purge, and it resets the parasympathetic nervous system. So I'm off there today, right now. I'm off to a place called Quedgeley, which is near Gloucester, which is where I live, and yeah, I'm interested. I'm going to try and film some stuff when I'm there to show you what the whole thing looks like. But it's related to social anxiety because, you know, if you're not doing any cold exposure now, I do highly recommend it. I've written about it in my ebook and on my site and stuff, and it can be very, very helpful, you know, because it makes you feel really good, but it also, and it can stave off depression and stuff like that as well, which is obviously comorbid and intertwined often with social anxiety. And I also feel that it just strengthens the willpower and is part of a kind of positive, more stoical lifestyle and mindset, which is essential for overcoming this big challenging problem, which has probably lingered with you for a number of years, if not even decades, like it did with me. You know, as I've said, I had elements of social anxiety from about the age of 5 onwards, and then it developed into a full-blown disorder from the age of 10, 11. So I was living with it for over 2 decades. And, you know, I think this kind of stuff is part of a positive lifestyle which will help you to overcome it. And for me, it's also just an interesting reminder that I'm going today because of this path that I got onto of, you know, becoming a more positive, stronger, healthier, optimistic person. And part of that journey was overcoming this biggest of problems in my life, which was social anxiety disorder. So I'll try and film you some clips from the actual workshop itself. I don't know what the copyright and stuff, if they're going to be amenable to that, but we'll see how it goes, and I'll try and give you a look at what it is all about. And also, you know, Google Wim Hof, check it out and see how it goes. And if you're not up for ice baths and all the rest of it, I do recommend just trying to work on some breathing as well, and studying some diaphragmatic breathing, some real deep breathing into the back and into the bottom of your lungs, doing like belly breathing, and meditation, because they're all linked and they're all help to calm you. And if you are in a panicky social anxiety attack type situation, taking some really huge, you know, diaphragmatic breaths. Recently, one thing I read in a very cool book called Zen Golf. It's actually about the mind aspect of golf, which I love, but it had a great section on breathing, and breathing into the back, breathing into your back and the bottom of your back, because your lungs are like a hot water bottle, and he's saying focusing on that action, and it gives a very, very satisfying deep breath. So I'm about 10 minutes away from the workshop. I'm I'm going to focus on driving now, and yeah, I'll try and send you some more clips, but check out Wim Hof and all the rest of it, and I'll speak to you real soon. Okay, hi guys. I've just finished the Iceman training, the Wim Hof method, and I gotta say that was a lot harder than I was expecting. My whole jaw and everything locked up. I found it really hard to maintain steady breathing. And I knew I didn't like the cold much, but that was pretty tough going. The day included a really good lecture, like a presentation by the instructor there, and one of the really interesting things that came up, he was talking about how ice exposure can elevate your mood, boost your immune system, balance your hormones, do all these things that are really, really good for overall well-being. And one interesting thing that came up was he said that he felt that cold exposure actually improved your response to fear, which I found really interesting, obviously, because social anxiety and overcoming social anxiety is a process of dealing with these massive fears. So it'll be really interesting. I'm going to carry on doing more of these ice baths. I'm going to buy some ice from my local supermarket and do some at home. If you're interested, you could check it out as well and maybe try that. And I can definitely see how that would work, really. I think it's a process of kind of, as I said before, just general mental toughening and strengthening, really. And I do feel better for it now. I'm warming up still, but I feel really invigorated. And I feel that if I can handle that kind of stress of getting in a almost freezing ice bath, it pushes your boundaries and your parameters of what you can handle. On a side note, I will say as well that the day was quite interesting from a social anxiety point of view itself, because there was about 30 of us there, and we did the usual, like, sit in a circle and do this and that. And then at one point the instructor asked us all to introduce ourselves and to explain why we'd come today, why we're interested in Wim Hof and all the rest of it. And as you'll know, you will know watching this, social anxiety sufferers, we all hate that build-up. It's one of the worst situations is when you're asked to introduce yourself. And previously, one of my biggest fears would be that I would not be able to control my symptoms, and I would have some sort of a breakdown in public. And that often happened. Like, my voice became so noticeably, like constricted and tight that I was sure other people could notice, and then that created a spiral where I became anxious and nervous about being perceived to be anxious and nervous. And I'm sure that sounds familiar to a lot of you. And I could see a lot of people there that looked anxious, and it's interesting. An interesting exercise is to actually focus your attention outwards when you have social anxiety and think who else might be struggling, and it can take some of the focus off you. But now that I don't feel those symptoms, I still feel some nervousness to some extent, I'm not going to lie, but it's not like social anxiety. So I decided everybody was just going, oh, I'm just really interested, so I came along, and they were just trying to get it over and done with. And I decided to challenge myself. I was going to speak for as long as possible and say everything that I wanted to, which was that I was interested in learning to control my breath for spearfishing. I use, cold exposure for recovery after jiu-jitsu and all these things. So as it came around, the guy before me, my friend who I know, who's an instructor there, he just finished really, really quickly. And what I do is I focus my attention into my belly, which is called the tanden in Buddhism, which is a couple of inches below your navel. I breathed out, and also what I do before speaking in those groups is I look at the other person, make sure they finish, then I take a pause, and I take my breath, and I make sure I clear my throat as well, because you don't want your voice cracking and starting off badly, because I find that starts a negative feedback loop. If you start off going, hi, my name's Ed, you know, and then it gets things off on a bad start, on a bad footing, and that continues, then it creates a negative feedback loop where you then become self-conscious about looking nervous. And so I composed myself, I took a deep breath, I projected my voice, I said, hi, my name's Ed. I became interested in Wim Hof through the Tim Ferriss podcast, which is how I heard about him as part of my sort of personal development journey. And I said what I wanted to say, and to relieve any nervous tension after speaking, I breathed again deep into my diaphragm. And it's just a very different experience, but I do really recommend trying to do those things before speaking in a group like that. You breathe into your tandem, into your center of gravity, which is 2 inches below your navel. You fill your breath, you know, your lungs with air, and then also take an inordinately, what will feel like an inordinately long pause before speaking. Because what we normally do as social anxiety sufferers is we start speaking before the person before us is almost not finished, because we're so anxious with the anticipatory nerves. Sometimes we even jump in and go, sorry, you've not finished, and then that starts things in a bad way. And then from there, you've already got off to a bad start. And then what I used to do is basically, on one breath, I would go, hi, my name's Ed, I'm going to try and say everything I can before my breath starts to run out, and then I would even finish my sentences sort of like this. And you sound a bit, you know, it sounds wrong, it's high-pitched, it's a bit manic, it's panicked. People, you know, probably notice that you're not comfortable, and then you become even more conscious about being self-conscious, and you become anxious about looking anxious. So I really recommend just deep breath, composing yourself, take an inordinately long pause, look at the person before you, look, smile, nod, my name's such and such, you know. And I've got to say, I really felt strengthened to do it, and find it so much easier now because of Toastmasters as well. Like talking up to a group, you know, talking in front of a group of 30 people I don't know is not that big of a deal, because I do it week in, week out with Toastmasters. So that is another reason why I really do recommend Toastmasters and public speaking practice as a way to overcome social anxiety, because so often in life you do have to do some sort of public speaking, even if it's in a small informal setting like that. So anyway, I realize time is ticking on. I don't want to make this a super long video, but I just wanted to share with you what I've been doing today with the Wim Hof Iceman method. If you haven't experimented with cold exposures yet and cold showers, I do recommend it. Makes you feel alive, makes you feel good, makes you stronger, helps you overcome fear potentially as well. And I found it really helpful and makes me feel really invigorated and alive. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. Leave comments, suggestions, whatever you like in the comments below, and I'll catch up with you all really soon.